The following is a conversation between Matías De Stefano, referred to as me, and his higher self, referred to as I am. The date is July 13th, 2021, and the subject is the emotional aspect of the heart chakra in the sign of Cancer. And the title of the blog is Leaves. Me. After our talk yesterday, I was able to let go of many things. I felt lighter. And today I slept without interruption. I am. You are dropping those emotional stories that weigh on you and what you project from them in the future. Me. Yes. You know what I realized? I am. What? Me. That I like to suffer. I find pleasure in suffering. My brain finds it almost exciting. I am. Interesting. How did you come to this conclusion? Me. Well, I think it's something that happens to many humans. Yesterday I was watching a series, a fictional romance, but one that reflects many real-life romances with their conflicts. I realized that I love those romantic and beautiful moments when things are perfect. But I also realized that I can't feel them, real or romantic, if there are no secrets and occultism in them. That is, the story was about two boys from very different social classes. One discovers himself gay, the other already knew, but they must be kept in the shadows so that no one finds out, because it was something forbidden in a certain way. I mean, guys and girls had their normal romantic lives, exciting but predictable, nothing to hide. On the other hand, when it came to them, everything was more intense. I am. Due to the tension, precisely, from the environment. Me. Yes. It was as if the forbidden was much more exciting. And then in that forbidden there are many problems, conflicts, which lead both of them to feel bad, move away, fight, having external forces that want to separate them. And I realized that the more tension there is, the more pleasure I feel in the story of love. And I could see in hindsight that the people I have fallen in love with the most in life were surrounded by a mist of suffering and prohibitions, which made me love them even more. And I am sure that this not only happens to me, but most love stories would not have this type of conflict, nor would there be series, books, and movies that fill our lives with these contents. We are the ones who ask for this type of stories, and although we can know that we can see something else, we choose this that leaves us with a bitter-sweet taste of anguish and love. I am. Me. So why, if we consciously ask to be happy, do we unconsciously take pleasure in suffering? I am. Good point. The other day I explained to you that the brain sensors to receive external signals are the same to identify pleasure as pain, and this is because both are extremes on the same scale. If we were talking about music, we could interpret that the lowest octaves produce pleasure and the highest ones produce pain. But they are the same notes in the same order. Both one and the other generate a general nervous collapse, in which all the nerves react by tensing, and this is related to the hormonal process. Remember that every emotion you feel is a chemical reaction on your cells and nerves. When you perform an action that involves intense activity, adrenaline is secreted from the adrenals, filling the bloodstream with this chemical cocktail that drives the body to tense up so that the muscles react to the environment. This happens both when you get scared and have to run urgently, as well as when you have sex. The body becomes alert because it is carrying out an activity that is not common or daily. The mixture of hormones produces a greater dilation of the heart so that the blood flows faster, altering the heart rhythm, which encourages movement, action, by raising the temperature of the muscles. An over-oxygenation puts the brain in a state of maximum alert to everything it can perceive, and the senses are sharpened. All this related both in moments of escape from a predator or to be attentive to find the breeding partner. In both cases, after intense activity, serotonin is secreted to calm the body, controlling activity, producing relaxation. In the case of mammals, Endorphin is also secreted, which strengthens the bond with the other. This frivolous look, if you will, is what generates the basis of love between people, because individuals, when feeling this hormone, feel calm and pleasure only in the presence of the other, which strengthens the groups, which through love and esteem remain united. Thus, the reproduction reaction is more powerful when you feel love than when you don't feel it. Me. Very frivolous, yes, but I understand. I am. Okay, so, as you've seen, the body is very basic in this sense. The problem begins when we put mind, culture, tradition, expectations. When we imagine things that are not happening to the body. When we put mental limits like prohibition. In nature, nothing is prohibited. What is prohibited is simply a weight received in advance, imposed by something that prevents me from moving, from acting. It comes from pro, meaning in front or beyond, and habere, meaning to have or to hold. That is, to have or hold something beyond what is possible. In a word, hold back. The idea is born with morality, but biology does not understand it. For biology, everything is almost binary: escape or fight, stay or go, attack or flee. In this simple vision, nature prepares us to be a victim or a victimizer, to be a prey or a predator. Thus, for millions of years, our body has been programmed to feel pleasure or pain as circumstances warrant. Now, when the prohibition arrives as a moral and not a biological concept, the brain interprets what is prohibited as a threat, as something that can prey on me, make me a victim. But morality prohibits things that are normal for biology, such as sex in various ways, shapes, among many other things. For this reason, the brain does not understand what it should really feel, pleasure or suffering, and therefore makes us feel both at the same time. Me. That's why we like the forbidden so much. We find pleasure in things that can harm us. I am. That's right. For nature it's easy. You either have it or you don't. But having it in front of you and not being able to hold it causes the brain to collapse, leading to a strange excitement in the face of danger. This means that, unlike the rest of living beings, humans keep enormous amounts of sensations and emotions in the unconscious, hidden because they are prohibited. Me. Ah, this is what generates all the paraphilias. I am. A paraphilia is an inverted pleasure instinct, that is, when something produces a pleasure that has no logic for consciousness. There are accepted philias in certain cultures, such as fetishism, which is pleasure for inanimate objects, and partialism, which is pleasure for animate objects that are not genitals, such as feet. Also gerontophilia, which is pleasure for the elderly, and nismolania, which is sexual pleasure by tickling. Others that are left in the shadows to suit each one, such as masochism, the pleasure of receiving aggressions of all kinds, and sadism, which is pleasure for generating these aggressions, as well as urophilia and coprophilia, pleasure by urine and feces, and asphyxiophilia, dangerous pleasure to suffocate or to be suffocated. And others prohibited by law, such as pedophilia, which is pleasure for those under 14 of age, zoophilia, pleasure for animals, necrophilia, pleasure for the dead, and voyeurism, pleasure to spy on others, and within them, the most subtle, exhibitionism. These behaviors arise due to sensations found in the brain in relation to suffering, childhood traumas, erratic prohibitions of their environment, growth conditions. The repression of being and feeling can end up generating paraphilias due to a mismanagement of the emotional energy that is received and given. Some paraphilias are catalogued in such a way due to the morality of a people, because what for one country or culture can be normal, for another it can be a forbidden act, as well as for certain African countries, The tradition of sleeping with underage girls or boys is a custom that was used to ensure their virginity in reproduction, which led to marriages with girls, something that certain cultures see as natural, while the same cultures see homosexuality as a paraphilia or something forbidden. Me. It always depends where you look at it, but it should be possible to reach a consensus, no? I am, of course, but that will happen in a global civilization. Today we can begin to think about these consensuses, but judging the past does not make sense, since the contexts are different for each historical group. Me, I understand. I am. Now, these hidden pleasures are all encompassed by the pleasure of the forbidden, of what can make us suffer, since the chemical reactions are the same, and for this reason, to a lesser or greater extent, they produce them in all humans. Difficult stories, more pleasure than easy ones. That is why one falls in love with the complicated, each individual at different levels. Me. Yes, it happens to me that when things are very easy, I can't find pleasure in them. I am. And that's why you seek to complicate them, no? Me. Yes, it's true. I complicate things just for pleasure. Without conflict, I don't feel alive. I am. This is produced hormonally, because the action occurs when you feel these internal emotions that drive you. If there is no context that forces you to produce these hormones, then you will not act. That is why we are mobilized by the stories that make us suffer, that give us anguish. That is why we victimize ourselves. Me. Being a victim, then, is a mechanism of pleasure. I am. That's right, because we feel the energy pouring out on us. Living in a constant drama generates a pleasant sensation in the body that makes it seek new dramatic situations. By victimizing oneself, one receives love, attention, and sometimes criticism, but attention in the end. When the looks and thoughts turn to you, a certain pleasure is produced. Me. Yes, I admit it. It's something that happens to me, in which by victimizing myself I feel that I gain energy, that I receive love. This is very sick. I am. It's just a typical reaction to hidden data in the unconscious. As we said, what is prohibited is what is retained, contained, what cannot be released, which is a burden. How many forbidden things live in you? Me. Many. I feel many things that limit me, that don't let me feel love, and instead of looking for others, I keep trying to be in that circumstance. How do you get out of this situation of looking for situations of suffering to feel pleasure? I am. Look, if banning means you have something beyond your power, you have to understand what you have in the first place. Habere, to have, to possess, is the accumulation of emotions that I do not allow myself to release, that flood the heart with a dangerous excitement. How do you let go of what you have in your heart? Me. Giving. I am, and therefore you can receive something new. Give and take. What you own is in your hands. What you retain in your unconscious is written on your palms. Me. The lines? I am. We could say that, culturally, the lines of the hands are considered as reading the records of the past and the future, although in reality they are only probable data records. Each line on your hand is like a trace that the cells leave printed where the probability information registered in the unconscious can be read. Feelings, intentions, traumas, potentialities, everything that makes the being exist as such. With your hands, you do everything in your life. You feel everything. Through them, you receive from the world and you give to the world. In them, then, you retain what you give and receive as information for all eternity. Everything that happens as pain and pleasure and that inhabits your unconscious is recorded in them, and it is through them, by doing, that you can free it. Me. How? I am. Your hands are like the leaves of a tree. Look at the leaves of the plants, and you will see the same lines, the nerves that expand along the blade, nourishing the leaf and receiving from it. The leaves are the antenna of a plant, which fulfill a double function, giving and receiving. They receive sunlight to carry out photosynthesis, that is, to synthesize light, in which solar, meaning photonic energy, generates a chemical reaction that allows the transformation of inorganic matter, carbon dioxide, into organic matter, sugars. This is possible thanks to chlorophyll, a sensitive pigment that exists in the leaves and some bacteria, which allows them to metabolize light. Chlorophyll is what gives plants their green color, since when processing photons, it does so by capturing them at a certain wavelength, around 500 nanometers. The light trapped by the plant allows it to create the necessary carbohydrates to nourish the fruits and seeds, for which it takes water, H2O, through the roots, and carbon dioxide, CO2, through the leaves, turning it into food, glucose, a carbohydrate obtaining hydrogen from water and carbon from dioxide, releasing the remaining oxygen into the environment, which will be used by animals to generate their own energy, receive and give. Me, the hands of the trees. I am. Each leaf is thus an experience, a story, a realization and action, all seeking energy in the world and giving it back in a transcendental way. Everything the plant receives is delivered to the world completely in the form of fruit, seed, and oxygen. The leaves are the heart of the tree, and a forbidden heart can neither give nor receive. Plants find a way to do it, producing positive things for the world. It takes what makes the world suffer, meaning sulfur, carbon dioxide, sunlight, and turns it into life, into food, into oxygen. Me. It takes what kills us and transforms it into life. It's beautiful. It takes suffering and pain and turns it into love and pleasure. I am. It is the free heart which can only receive in its delivery. You ask me, how do you get out of suffering? And I answer you, you can't get out of suffering. You can't get out of it. You can only transform it. That is the photosynthesis of being. Take everything you hold in your unconscious hands, hidden in pain and suffering, and do something useful for the world with it. Turn pain into pleasure. Turn a sad story into a story or a song. Turn a dark emotion into a work of art. Use a horrible trauma as an example for the healing of others. The sun that burns you is the raw material of the fruit that refreshes you. The carbon dioxide that suffocates you is the source of the energy of your action. The water that drowns you is the origin of the air you breathe. Me. It is taking what hurts me and turning it into pleasure through my creative capacity. I am. You will always need the emotion of suffering to recognize that you have something to transform in yourself. You cannot get out of this natural sensation. You can only recognize it as the source of your transformative action. Plants do not stop performing photosynthesis. Every day there is sun, and every day they will do their job, because there will be no fruits or seeds without rays and toxic chemicals. But they do something that you forbid yourself to do. Me, what? I am. Let go. The same leaves that carry out this transformation process are dropped after completing their mission. The tree lets go of memories, releases what is no longer productive, what no longer generates anything for it. Without fear, let go and release relationships, situations, experiences, bonds, emotions. Release your withered heart. Allow yourself to be free of what it contains, to be able to rise again as new in a transcendental cycle. Will you drop your leaves? Me. Letting go is the most difficult. Well, the body and soul get used to suffering for pleasure, becoming a vicious cycle that is difficult to let go. It keeps us imprisoned. I myself feel it is difficult for me to let go of the stories written in the experience of my hands. I am. Look at the palms of your hands. Breathe the memories that come out of it and everything they have done in existence. Recognize that you are capable of creating something new out of all of this, and when you do, let it go. Release the result of your action and allow yourself to renew yourself, starting anew. Me, what I understand with this is that you're telling me to capture something on the physical plane that helps me transform what is inside into something real, and then release it, not keep it. I am. Take your unconscious angst, paint it into a picture, and then sell it or give it away. Either way, you will have transformed the information into something new. Me. I understand the example. I am. This is something you will do all your life. Do not rush to want to solve something that is cyclical. Sooner or later, the time will come when you can really let go and create something new through free giving and receiving. Me. From my heart, I allow myself to create. I release my unconscious in each heartbeat. I am. Take the blank sheets and draw the lines, writing the stories that you have to let go. Paint your paths and write the verses that will set you free. It narrates in the pages of this existential book, the story that you have to forget in order to remember. Me. I write my hidden truths in the leaves of my life. I am. Resonating in the vibration of your heart.